Hey everybody, and welcome to Audio White Papers. Today I'm going to be reading part 2 of the Stellar Lumens white paper. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, or leave us a comment. If you have any suggestions of different white papers you want us to read, shoot us an email at audiowhitepapers@gmail.com or leave a comment. If you want to donate to the project, please use the addresses next to me in the QR codes, or we'll have them in the description as well. And I just want to let everybody know that the information I'm reading is not mine. I'm reading only what is written here in the white paper from the author, who is not me. And with that, let's get into it. Please enjoy Stellar Lumens Part 2. 5. Federated Voting. This section develops a federated voting technique that FBAS nodes can use to agree on a statement. At a high level, the process for agreeing on some statement A involves nodes exchanging two sets of messages. First, nodes vote for A. Then, if the vote was successful, nodes confirm A, effectively holding a second vote on the fact that the first vote succeeded. From each node's perspective, the two rounds of messages divide agreement on a statement A into three phases: unknown, accepted, and confirmed. This pattern dates back to three-phase commit. Initially, A's status is completely unknown to a node V. A could end up true, false, or even stuck in a permanently indeterminate state. If the first vote succeeds, V may come to accept A. No two intact nodes ever accept contradictory statements, so if V is intact and accepts A, then A cannot be false. For two reasons, however, V accepting A does not suffice for V to act on A. First, the fact that V accepted A does not mean all intact nodes can. A could be stuck for other nodes. Second, if V is befouled, then accepting A means nothing. A may be false at intact nodes. Yet, even if V is befouled, which V does not know, the system may still enjoy quorum intersection of well-behaved nodes, in which case, for optimal safety, V needs greater assurance of A. Holding a second vote addresses both problems. If the second vote succeeds, V moves to the confirmed phase, in which it can finally deem A true and act on it. The next few subsections detail the federated voting process. Because voting does not rule out the possibility of stuck statements, Section 5.6 discusses how to cope with them. Section 6 will turn federated voting into a consensus protocol that avoids the possibility of stuck slots for intact nodes. 5.1. Voting with open membership. A correct node in a Byzantine agreement system acts on a statement A only when it knows that other correct nodes will never agree to statements contradicting A. Most protocols employ voting for this purpose. Well-behaved nodes vote for a statement A only if it is valid. Well-behaved nodes also never exchange their votes. Hence, in centralized Byzantine agreement, it is safe to accept A if a quorum comprising a majority of well-behaved nodes has voted for it. We say a statement is ratified once it has received the necessary votes. In a federated setting, we must adopt voting to accommodate open membership. One difference is that a quorum no longer responds to a majority of well-behaved nodes. However, the majority requirement primarily serves to ensure quorum intersection of well-behaved nodes, which Section 4.1 already adapted to FBA. Another implication of open membership is that nodes must discover what constitutes a quorum as part of the voting process. To implement quorum discovery, a protocol should specify the function Q of V in all messages from V. Definition: vote. A node V votes for an abstract statement A if and only if, number 1, V asserts A is valid and consistent with all statements V has accepted, and, number 2, V asserts it has never voted against A, that is, voted for a statement that contradicts A, and V promises never to vote against A in the future. Definition: ratify. A quorum UA ratifies a statement A if and only if every member of UA votes for A. A node V ratifies A if and only if V is a member of a quorum UA that ratifies A. Theorem 4. Two contradictory statements A and A' cannot both be ratified in an FBAS that enjoys quorum intersection and contains no ill-behaved nodes. See proof below on page 12. Theorem 5. Let the tuple V, Q be an FBAS enjoying quorum intersection despite B, and suppose B contains all ill-behaved nodes. Let V1 and V2 be two nodes not in B. Let A and A' be contradictory statements. If V1 ratifies A, then V2 cannot ratify A'. See proof below on page 12. Theorem 6. Two intact nodes in an FBAS with quorum intersection cannot ratify contradictory statements. See proof below on page 12. 5.2. Blocking sets. In centralized consensus, liveness is an all-or-nothing property of the system. Either a unanimously well-behaved quorum exists, or else ill-behaved nodes can prevent the rest of the system from accepting new statements. In FBA, by contrast, liveness may differ across nodes. For instance, in the tiered quorum example of Figure 3, if middle tier nodes V6, V7, V8 crash, the leaf tier will be blocked, while the top tier and node V5 will continue to enjoy liveness. An FBA protocol can guarantee liveness to a node V only if the function Q of V contains at least one quorum slice comprising only correct nodes. A set B of failed nodes can violate this property if B contains at least one member of each of V's slices. We term such a set BV blocking because it has the power to block progress by V. Definition: V blocking. Let lowercase v be an element of uppercase V be a node in FBAS for the tuple capital V, capital Q. A set B is a subset of capital V is V blocking if and only if it overlaps every one of V's slices. That is, for all lowercase q is an element of the function Q of V, Q intersects B when it does not equal 0. Theorem 7. Let B be a subset of capital V be a set of nodes in FBAS for the tuple capital V, capital Q. The tuple capital V, capital Q enjoys quorum availability despite B if and only if B is not V blocking for any lowercase v is the element of capital V as the set difference of B. See proof below on page 13. As a corollary, the D set of befouled nodes is not V blocking for any intact lowercase v. 5.3. Accepting statements. When an intact node V learns that it has ratified a statement, Theorem 6 tells V that other intact nodes will not ratify contradictory statements. This condition is sufficient for V to accept A, but we cannot make it necessary. Ratifying a statement requires voting for it, and some nodes may have voted for contradictory statements. In Figure 9, for example, V4 votes for A' before learning that the other three nodes ratified the contradictory statement A. Though V4 can now vote for A, we would still like to accept A to be consistent with the other nodes. A key insight is that if a node V is intact, then no V blocking set B can consist entirely of befouled nodes. Now suppose B is a V blocking set and every member of B claims to accept statement A. If V is intact, at least one member of B must be 2. The intact member will not lie about accepting A, hence A is true and V can accept it. Of course, if V is befouled, then A might not be true. But a befouled node can accept anything and vacuously not accept the correctness of intact nodes. Definition: accept. An FBAS node V accepts a statement A if and only if it has never accepted a statement contradicting A and it determines that either 1. There exists a quorum U such that V is an element of U and each member of U either voted for A or claims to accept A, or, number 2, each member of a V blocking set claims to accept A. Though a well-behaved node cannot vote for contradictory statements, condition 2 above allows a node to vote for one statement and later accept a contradictory one. Theorem 8. Two intact nodes in an FBAS that enjoys quorum intersection cannot accept contradictory statements. See proof below on page 14. 5.4. Accepting is not enough. Unfortunately, for nodes to assume the truth of accepted statements would yield suboptimal safety and liveness guarantees in a federated consensus protocol. We discuss the issues with safety and liveness in turn. To provide some context, we then explain why these issues are thornier in FBA than in centralized Byzantine agreement. 5.4.1. Safety. Consider an FBAS in the tuple capital V, capital Q, in which the only quorum is unanimous consent. That is, for all lowercase v, the function q of lowercase v is equal to the set capital V. This ought to be a conservative choice for safety. Don't do anything unless everyone agrees. Yet, since every node is v blocking for every v, any node can single-handedly convince any other node to accept arbitrary statements. The problem is that accepted statements are only safe among intact nodes, but, as discussed in section 4.1, the only condition necessary to guarantee safety is quorum intersection of well-behaved nodes, which might hold even in the case that some well-behaved nodes are befouled. In particular, when the function q of lowercase v is equal to the set capital V, the only d sets are 0 and capital V, meaning any node failure befouls the whole system. By contrast, quorum intersection holds despite every b is a subset of capital V. 5.4.2 Liveness. Another limitation of accepted statements is that other intact nodes may be unable to accept them. This possibility makes reliance on accepted statements problematic for liveness. If a node proceeds to act on a statement because it accepted the statement, other nodes could be unable to process in a similar fashion. Consider figure 10a, in which node v3 crashes after helping v1 ratify and accept statement A. Though v1 accepts A, v2 and v4 cannot. In particular, from v2's perspective, the situation depicted is indistinguishable from figure 10b, in which v3 voted for A- and is well behaved but slow to respond, while v1 is ill behaved and sent v3 a vote for A-, thereby causing v3 to accept A-, while illegally also sending v2 a vote for A. To support a protocol-level notion of liveness in cases like figure 10a, v1 needs a way to ensure that every other intact node can eventually accept A before v1 acts on A. Once this is the case, it makes sense to say the system agrees on A. Definition: agree. An FBAS in the tuple V Q agrees on a statement A if and only if, regardless of what subsequently transpires, once sufficient messages are delivered and processed, every intact node will accept A. 5.4.3 Comparison to centralized voting. To understand why the above issues arise in federated voting, consider a centralized Byzantine agreement system of n nodes with quorum size T. Such a system enjoys quorum availability with FL equals n minus T, or fewer node failures. Since any two quorums share at least 2T minus n nodes, quorum intersection of well-behaved nodes holds up to Fs equals 2T minus n minus 1 Byzantine failures. Centralized Byzantine agreement systems typically set n equals 3f plus 1 and t equals 2f plus 1 to yield FL equals Fs equals F, the equilibrium point at which safety and liveness have the same fault tolerance. If safety is more important than liveness, some protocols increase T so that Fs is larger than FL. In FBA, because quorums arise organically, systems are unlikely to find themselves at equilibrium, making it far more important to protect safety in the absence of liveness. Now, consider a centralized system in which, because of node failure and contradictory votes, some node V cannot ratify statement A that was ratified by other nodes. If V hears that Fs plus 1 nodes claim A was ratified, V knows that either one of them is well behaved or all safety guarantees have collapsed. Either way, V can act on A with no loss of safety. The FBA equivalent would be to hear from set B, where B, if deleted, undermines quorum intersection of well-behaved nodes. Identifying such a B is hard for three reasons. 1. Quorums are discovered dynamically. 2. Ill-behaved nodes may lie about slices. And 3. V does not know which nodes are well-behaved. Instead, we define federated voting to accept A when a V-blocking set does. The V-blocking property has the advantage of being easily checkable, but is equivalent to hearing from FL plus 1 nodes in a centralized system when we really want Fs plus 1. To guarantee agreement among all well-behaved nodes in a centralized system, one merely needs FL plus Fs plus 1 nodes to acknowledge that a statement was ratified. If more than FL of them fail, we do not expect liveness anyway. If FL or fewer fail, then we know FS plus 1 nodes remain willing to attest to ratification, which will in turn convince all other well-behaved nodes. The reliance on FS has no easy analog in the FBA model. Interestingly, however, FL plus FS plus 1 equals T, the quorum size, suggesting a similar approach might work with a more complex justification. Put another way, at some point nodes need to believe a statement strongly enough to depend on its truth for safety. A centralized system offers two ways to reach this point for a statement A. Ratify A firsthand, or reason backwards from FS plus 1 nodes claiming A was ratified, figuring safety is hopeless if they have all lied. FBA lacks the latter approach. The only tool it has for safety among well-behaved nodes is first-hand ratification. Since nodes still need a way to overcome votes against ratified statements, we introduce a notion of accepting, but it provides a weaker consistency guarantee limited to intact nodes. 5.5 Statement Confirmation. Both limitations of accepted statements stem from complications when a set of intact nodes S votes against a statement A that is nonetheless ratified. Particularly in light of FBA's non-uniform quorums, S may prevent some intact node from ever ratifying V. To provide V a means of accepting A despite votes against it, the definition of accept has a second criterion based on V blocking sets. But the second criterion is weaker than ratification, offering no guarantees to befouled nodes that enjoy quorum intersection. Now, suppose a statement A has the property that no intact node ever votes against it. Then, we have no need to accept A and can instead insist that nodes directly ratify A before acting on it. We call such statements irrefutable. Definition: irrefutable. A statement A is irrefutable in an FBAS if no intact node can ever vote against it. Theorem 8 tells us that two intact nodes cannot accept contradictory statements. Thus, while some intact nodes may vote against a statement A that was accepted by an intact node, the statement an intact node accepted A is irrefutable. This suggests that holding a second vote to ratify the fact that an intact node accepted A. Definition: confirm. A quorum UA is an FBAS confirms a statement A if and only if, for all V is an element of UA, V claims to accept A. A node confirms A if and only if it is in such a quorum. Nodes express that they have accepted a statement A by stating accept A, an abbreviation of the statement an intact node accepted A. To confirm A means to ratify accept A. A well-behaved node V can vote for accept A only after accepting A, as V cannot assume any particular other nodes are intact. If V itself is befouled, accept A might be false, in which case voting for it may cost V liveness. But a befouled node has no guarantee of liveness anyway. The next theorem shows that nodes can rely on confirmed statements without losing optimal safety. Theorem 11 then shows that confirmed statements meet the definition of agreement from section 5.4.2, meaning nodes can rely on confirmed statements without endangering the liveness of intact nodes. Theorem 9. Let the tuple V be an FBAS enjoying quorum intersection despite B, and suppose B contains all ill-behaved nodes. Let V1 and V2 be two nodes not in B. Let A and A' be contradictory statements. If V1 confirms A, then V2 cannot confirm A'. See proof below on page 16. Theorem 10. Let B be the set of befouled nodes in an FBAS of the tuple V with quorum intersection. Let U be a quorum containing an intact node, U as a strict subset of B, and let S be any set such that U as a subset of S is a subset of V. Let S plus equal S as the set difference of B be the set of intact nodes in S, and let S minus equal to V as the set difference of S as the set difference of B be the set of intact nodes not in S. Either S minus equals 0, or there exists V is the element of S minus, such that S plus is V blocking. See proof below on page 16. Theorem 11. if an intact node in an FBAS of the tuple V Q with quorum intersection confirms a statement A, then whatever subsequently transpires once sufficient messages are delivered and processed, every intact node will accept and confirm A. See proof below on page 17. Figure 11 summarizes the paths an intact node V can take to confirm A. Given no knowledge, V might vote for either A or the contradictory A dash. If V votes for A dash, it cannot later vote for A, but can nonetheless accept A if a V blocking set accepts it. A subsequent quorum of confirmation messages allows V to confirm A, which by Theorem 11 means the system agrees on A. 5.6. Liveness and neutralization. The main challenge of distributed consensus, whether centralized or not, is that a statement can get stuck in a permanently indeterminate state before the system reaches agreement on it. Hence, a protocol must not attempt to ratify externalized values directly. Should the statement, the value of slot I is X, get stuck, the system will be forever unable to agree on slot I, losing liveness. The solution is to craft the statements in votes carefully. It must be possible to break a stuck statement's hold on the question we really care about, namely slot contents. We call the process of obsoleting a stuck statement neutralization. More concretely, Figure 12 depicts the potential status a statement A can have system-wide. Initially, the system is bivalent, by which we mean there is one sequence of possible events through which all intact nodes will accept A, and another sequence through which all intact nodes will reject A, that is, accept a statement A dash contradicting A. At some point, one of these two outcomes may cease to be possible. If no intact node can ever reject A, we say the system is A-valent. Conversely, if no intact node can ever accept A, we say the system is A-valent. At the time an FBAS transitions from bivalent to A-valent, there is a possible outcome in which all intact nodes accept A. However, this might not remain the case. Consider a PBFT-like 4-node system in the set V1 through V4, in which any 3 nodes constitute a quorum. If V1 and V2 vote for A, the system becomes A-valent. No 3 nodes can ratify a contradictory statement. However, if V3 and V4 subsequently vote for A dash contradicting A, it also becomes impossible to ratify A. In this case, A's state is permanently indeterminate or stuck. As seen in Figure 10a, even once an intact node accepts A, the system may still fail to reach system-wide agreement on A. However, by Theorem 11, once an intact node confirms A, all intact nodes can eventually come to accept it. Hence, the system has agreed upon A. Figure 13 summarizes what intact nodes know about the global state of a statement from their own local state. To preserve the possibility of consensus, a protocol must ensure that every statement is either irrefutable and hence cannot get stuck, or neutralizable and hence cannot block progress if stuck. There are 2 popular approaches for crafting neutralizable statements: the view-based approach, pioneered by view stamping replication and favored by PBFT, and the ballot-based approach, invented by Paxos. The ballot-based approach may be harder to understand. Compounding confusion, people often call view-stamped replication Paxos or assert that the 2 algorithms are the same when they are not. View-based protocols associate the slots in votes with monotonically increasing view numbers. Should consensus get stuck on the ith slot in view n, nodes recover by agreeing that view n had fewer than I meaningful slots and moving to a higher view number. Ballot-based protocols associate the values in votes with monotonically increasing ballot numbers. Should a ballot get stuck, nodes retry the same slot with a higher ballot, taking care never to select values that would contradict prior stuck ballots. This work takes a ballot-based approach, as doing so makes it easier to do away with the notion of a distinguished primary node or leader. For example, leader behavior can be emulated. 6. SCP, a Federated Byzantine Agreement Protocol. This section presents Stellar Consensus Protocol, SCP. At a high level, SCP consists of 2 sub-protocols, a nomination protocol and a ballot protocol. The nomination protocol produces candidate values for a slot. If long enough, it eventually produces the same set of candidate values at every intact node, which means nodes can combine the candidate values in a deterministic way to produce a single composite value for the slot. There are two huge caveats, however. First, nodes have no way of knowing when the nomination protocol has reached the point of convergence. Second, even after convergence, ill-behaved nodes may be able to reset the nomination process a finite number of times. When nodes guess that the nomination protocol has converged, they execute the ballot protocol, which employs federated voting to commit and abort ballots associated with composite values. When intact nodes agree to commit a ballot, the value associated with the ballot will be externalized for the slot in question. When they agree to abort a ballot, the ballot's value becomes irrelevant. If a ballot gets stuck in a state where one or more intact nodes cannot commit or abort it, then nodes try again with a higher ballot. They associate the new ballot with the same value as the stuck one in case any node believes the stuck ballot was committed. Intuitively, safety results from ensuring that all stuck and committed ballots are associated with the same value. Liveness follows from the fact that a stuck ballot can be neutralized by moving to a higher ballot. The remainder of this section presents the nomination and ballot protocols. Each is described first in terms of conceptual statements, then as concrete protocol with messages representing sets of conceptual statements. Finally, section 6.3 shows the correctness of the protocol. SCP treats each slot completely independently and can be viewed as many separate instances of a single slot consensus protocol, akin to the single decree synod in Paxos. Concepts such as candidate values and ballots must always be interpreted in the context of a particular slot, even if much of the discussion leaves the slot implicit. 6.1 Nomination Protocol. Because slots need only be partially ordered, some applications of SCP will have only one plausible ballot per slot. For example, in certificate transparency, each CA may have its own series of slots and sign exactly one certificate tree per slot. However, other applications admit many plausible values per slot, in which case it is helpful to narrow down the possible input values. Our strategy is to begin with a synchronous nomination protocol that achieves consensus under certain timing assumptions, and feed the output of the nomination protocol into an asynchronous ballot protocol whose safety does not depend on timing. Such an initial synchronous phase is sometimes called a conciliator. The nomination protocol works by converging on a set of candidate values for a slot. Nodes then deterministically combine these candidates into a single composite value for the slot. Exactly how to combine values depends on the application. By way of example, the Stellar network uses SCP to choose a set of transactions and a ledger timestamp for each slot. To combine candidate values, Stellar takes the union of their transaction sets and the maximum number of their timestamps. Values with invalid timestamps will not receive enough nominations to become candidates. Other possible approaches include combining sets by intersection or simply picking the candidate value with the highest hash. Nodes produce a candidate value X through federated voting on the statement nominate X. Definition: candidate. A node V considers a value X to be a candidate when V has confirmed the statement nominate X. That is, V has ratified accept nominate X. So long as node V has no candidate values, V may vote in favor of nominate X for any value X that passes application level validity checks, such as timestamps not being in the future. In fact, V should generally renominate any values that it sees other nodes nominate, with some rate limiting discussed below to avoid any explosion of candidates. As soon as V has a candidate value, however, it must cease voting to nominate X for any new values X. It should still continue to accept nominate statements for new values when accepted by a V blocking set, and confirm new nominate statements as prescribed by the federated voting procedure. The nomination protocol enjoys several properties when a system has intact nodes, meaning it has avoided complete failure. Specifically for each slot, 1. Intact nodes can produce at least one value. 2. At some point, the set of possible candidates stops growing. 3. If any intact node considers X to be a candidate value, then eventually every intact node will consider X to be a candidate value. Now, consider how the nomination protocol achieves its three properties. Property 1 is achieved because nominate statements are irrefutable. Nodes never vote against nominating a particular value, and until the first candidate value is confirmed, intact nodes can vote to nominate any value. So long as any value X passes application-level validity checks, intact nodes can vote for and confirm nominate X. Property 2 is ensured because once each intact node confirms at least one candidate value, which will happen in a finite amount of time, no intact nodes will vote to nominate any new values. Hence, the only values that can become candidates are those that already have votes from intact nodes. Property 3 is a direct consequence of Theorem 11. The nomination process will be more efficient if fewer combinations of values are in play. Hence, we assign nodes a temporary priority and have each node, when possible, nominate the same values as a higher priority node. More concretely, let H be a cryptographic hash function whose range can be interpreted as a set of integers in the set 0 all the way through h max minus 1. H might be SHA-256, in which case h max equals 2 to the power of 256. Let the function gi of m equal the function h of I, xi minus 1, m be a slot-specific hash function for slot I, where xi minus 1 is the value chosen for the slot preceding I, or the sorted set of values for all immediate dependencies of slot I when slots are governed by a partial order. Given a slot I and a round number n, each node v computes a set of neighbors and a priority for each neighbor as follows. See figure below. N and p are constants to produce two different hash functions. The function weight of v prime returns the fraction of slices in the function q of v containing v prime. By using weight as the probability over n that v prime appears in neighbors vn, we also reduce the chance that nodes without a lot of trust will dominate around. Each node v should initially find a node v0 of the element neighbors v0 that maximizes priority 0 v0 among nodes it can communicate with, then vote to nominate the same values as v0. Only if v equals v0 should v introduce a new value to nominate. V should use timeouts to decide on new nominate statements to vote for. After n timeouts, v should find a node vn is the element of neighbors vn maximizing priority n vn and vote to nominate everything vn has voted to nominate. Theorem 12. Eventually all intact nodes will have the same composite value. See proof below on page 21. 6.1.1 Concrete Nomination Protocol. Figure 14 lists the nomination protocol state a node v must maintain for each slot. X is the set of values x for which v has voted nominate x. Y is the set of values for which v has accepted nominate x. And z is the set of candidate values, that is, all values for which a quorum including v has stated accept nominate x. Finally, v maintains n, the latest concrete message from each node. Technically, x, y, and z can all be recomputed from n, but it is convenient to be able to reference them directly. All four fields are initialized to the empty set. Note that all three of x, y, and z are growing over time. Nodes never remove a value from these sets. Figure 15 shows the concrete message that constitutes the nomination protocol. Because x and y grow monotonically over time, it is possible to determine which of multiple nominate messages from the same node is the latest, independent of network delivery order, so long as D does not change mid-nomination, or D has to be versioned. Only one remote procedure call, RPC, is needed for nomination. The argument is the sender's latest nominate message, and the return value is the receiver's. If D or the nominate values are cryptographic hashes, a second RPC should permit retrieval of uncached hash pre-images as needed. Because nodes cannot tell when the nomination protocol is complete anyway, SCP must cope with different composite values at different nodes. As an optimization then, nodes can attempt to predict the final composite value before they even have a candidate value. To do this, the composite value can be taken as combine z when z doesn't equal 0. Otherwise, combine y when y doesn't equal 0. Otherwise, combine x when x doesn't equal 0. This means the highest priority node can optimistically initiate balloting at the same time as nomination, piggybacking its first ballot message prepare, described below, on its first nominate message. 6.2 Ballot Protocol. Once nodes have a composite value, they engage in the ballot protocol, though nomination may continue to update the composite value in parallel. A ballot B is a pair of the form B equals the tuple nx, where x does not equal false is a value, and B is a referendum on externalizing x for the slot in question. The value n is greater or equal to 1 is a counter to ensure higher ballot numbers are always available. We use C-like notation b.n and b.x to denote the counter and value fields of ballot B, so that B equals the tuple b.n, b.x. Ballots are totally ordered, with b.n more significant than b.x. For convenience, a special invalid null ballot, 0 is equal to tuple 0, false, is less than all other ballots, and a special counter value, infinity, is greater than all other counters. We speak of committing and aborting a ballot B as a shorthand for using federated voting to agree on the statements commit B and abort B, respectively. For a given ballot, commit and abort are contradictory, so a well-behaved node may vote for at most one of them. In the notation of Section 5, the opposite of commit B would be not commit B, but abort B is a more intuitive notation. Because at most one value can be chosen for a given slot, all committed and stuck ballots must contain the same value. Roughly speaking, this means commit statements are invalid if they conflict with lower numbered unaborted ballots. Definition: compatible. Two ballots, B1 and B2, are compatible, written B1 tilde B2, if and only if B1.x is equal to B2.x, and incompatible, written B1 tilde with a line through it, B2, if and only if B1.x does not equal B2.x. We also write B1 is lesser than tilde B2, or B2 is greater than tilde B1, if and only if B1 is lesser than or equal to B2, or equivalently, B2 is greater than or equal to B1, and B1 is compatible with B2. Similarly, B1 is lesser than tilde with a line through it B2, or B2 is greater than tilde with a line through it B1, means B1 is lesser than or equal to B2, or equivalently, B2 is greater than or equal to B1, and B1 is not compatible with B2. Definition: prepared. A ballot B is prepared if and only if every statement in the following set is true. The set of all elements abort B old, for which B old is lesser than and not compatible to B. More precisely then, commit B is valid to vote for only if B is confirmed prepared, which nodes ensure through federated voting on the corresponding abort statements. It is convenient to vote on these statements en masse, so wherever we write B is prepared, the surrounding context applies to the whole set of abort statements. In particular, a node votes, accepts, or confirms that B is prepared if and only if it votes for, accepts, or confirms, respectively, all of these aborts. To confirm a ballot B and externalize its value B.x, SCP nodes first accept and confirm B is prepared, then accept and confirm commit B. Before the first intact node votes for commit B, the prepare step through federated voting ensures all intact nodes can eventually confirm B is prepared. When an intact node V accepts commit B, it means B.x will eventually be chosen. However, as discussed in section 5.4.1, V must confirm commit before acting on it in case V is befouled. 6.2.1 Concrete Ballot Protocol. Figure 16 illustrates the per-slot state maintained by each node. A node V stores its current phase phi, its current ballot B, the two most recent incompatible ballots it has prepared, P, P prime, the lowest C, the highest H ballot, if any, it has voted to commit, and for which it has not subsequently accepted an abort, or for which it has accepted or confirmed a commit in later phases. A next value Z to try if the current ballot fails, and the latest message received from each node M. Ballots B, P, P prime, and H are non-decreasing within a phase. In addition, if C is not equal to 0, meaning V may have participated in ratifying commit C, code must ensure C is lesser than and compatible with H, which is lesser than and compatible with B. This invariant guarantees a node can always legally vote to prepare its current ballot B. Figure 17 shows the three ballot protocol messages, with phi determining which one of the three a node can send. Ballot messages may overlap with nomination messages, so that, when H is equal to 0, a node may update Z in response to a nominate message. Note that at least one possible both of A or accept A are true is that what each node must assert for a quorum to accept A under condition 1 of the definition of accept. For convenience, when comparing state across nodes, we will identify fields belonging to particular nodes with subscripts. If V is a node, then we write BV, PV, P prime V to denote the values of B, P, P prime in node V's state as described in figure 16. Similarly, we let VM denote message M's sender, and BM, PM, P prime M denote the corresponding values of B, P, P prime in VM's state as implied by M. Each node initializes its ballot state for a slot by setting prepare assigned to phi, false assigned to Z, the tuple 0Z assigned to B, 0 assigned to M, and all other fields P, P prime, C, H to the invalid ballot 0. While Z equals false, a node can receive but not send ballot messages. Once Z is not equal to false, if B.N equals 0, a node reinitializes the tuple 1Z assigned to B to start sending messages. Nodes then repeatedly exchange messages with peers, sending whichever ballot message is indicated by phi. Upon adding a newly received message M to MV, a node V updates its state as follows. 1. If phi equals prepare, and M lets V accept new ballots as prepare, update P and P prime. Afterwards, if either P is greater than and not compatible to H, or P prime is greater than and not compatible to H, then set 0 assigned to C. 2. If phi equals prepare, and M lets V confirm new higher ballots prepared, then raise H to the highest such ballot and set H.X assigned to Z. 3. If phi equals prepare, C equals 0, B is lesser than or equal to H, and neither P is greater than and not compatible to H, nor P prime is greater than and not compatible to H, then set C to the lowest ballot satisfying B is lesser than or equal to C, which is lesser than and compatible to H. 4. If phi equals prepare and V accepts commit for one or more ballots, set C to the lowest such ballot, then set H to the highest ballot such that V accepts all, commit B prime, for which C is lesser than and compatible with B prime, which is lesser than and compatible to H, is true, and set confirm assigned to phi. Also set H.X assigned to Z after updating H, and unless H is lesser than and compatible to B, set H is assigned to B. 5. If phi equals confirm and the received message lets V accept new ballots prepared, raise P to the highest accepted prepared ballot such that P is compatible to C. 6. If phi equals confirm and V accepts more commit messages or raises B, then let H prime be the highest ballot such that V accepts all, commit B prime, for which B is lesser than and compatible to B prime, which is lesser than and compatible to H prime, is true, if any. If there exists such an H prime, and h prime is greater than h, then set h prime assigned to h, and, if necessary, raise c to the lowest ballot such that v accepts all elements commit b prime for which c is lesser than and compatible to b prime, which is lesser than and compatible to h. 7. If phi equals confirm and v confirms commit c prime for any c prime, set c and h to the lowest and highest such ballots. Set externalize as assigned to phi, externalize c.x, and terminate. 8. If phi is element of the set prepare confirm and b is lesser than h, then set h is assigned to b. 9. If phi is the element of the set prepare confirm, and there exists S, which is a subset of MV, such that a set of senders of all elements V M prime, for which M prime is an element of S, is V blocking, and for all M prime is an element of S, B M prime dot N is greater than BV dot N, then set the tuple NZ as assigned to B, where n is the lowest counter for which no such S exists. Repeat the previous steps after updating B. While C equals 0, the above protocol implements federated voting to confirm B is prepared. Once C does not equal 0, the protocol implements federated voting on commit C prime for every C is lesser than and compatible to C prime, which is lesser than and compatible to H. For the confirm phase, once a well-behaved node accepts commit C, the node never accepts, and hence never attempts to confirm commit C prime for any C prime is not compatible to C. Once a commit is confirmed, the value of its ballot is safe to externalize assuming quorum intersection. All messages sent by a particular node are totally ordered by the tuple phi b p p prime h, with phi the most significant and h the least significant field. The values of these fields can be determined from messages as described in Figure 17. All prepare messages precede all confirm messages, which in turn precede the single externalize message for a given slot. The ordering makes it possible to ensure M contains only the latest ballot for each node without relying on timing to order the messages, since the network may reorder messages. A few details of the protocol merit explanation. The statements implied by prepare of the form either or both abort B prime or accept abort B prime are true do not specify whether V is voting for or confirming abort B prime. The distinction is unimportant for the definition of accept. Glossing over the distinction allows V to forget about old ballots it voted to commit, and hence cannot vote to abort, so long as it accepted an abort message for them. Indeed, the only time V modifies C when C doesn't equal 0 is to set it back to 0 after accepting abort for every ballot it is voting to commit in step 1 on the preceding page. Conversely, the only time V modifies C when C equals 0 is to set it at value C is greater than or equal to B in step 3. Because nodes never vote abort C for any C is greater than or equal to B, no past abort votes can conflict with commit C. Theorem 11 requires that nodes rebroadcast what they have accepted. It follows from the definition of prepare that the two highest incompatible ballots a node has accepted as prepared subsume all ballots the node has accepted as prepared. Hence, including P and P prime in every message ensures that nodes converge on H, a confirmed prepared ballot. Note further that the ballots a node accepts as prepared must be a superset of the ballots the node confirms as prepared. Hence, step 2 can never set H such that H is not compatible to C, which is not equal to 0, as step 1 will set 0 is assigned to C if the new H is incompatible with the old C. At the time V sends an externalized message, it has accepted the set of all elements commit B prime for which B prime is greater than and compatible to C is true. More importantly, however, it has confirmed the set of all elements commit B prime for which C is lesser than and compatible to B prime, which is lesser than and compatible to H is true. V can assert its acceptance of confirmed states without regard to the function Q of V, because it has already checked that one of its slices unanimously agrees. This explains the appearance of the set V in place of D for the second implicit confirm message in the description of externalize. Eliminating D allows a single static externalize message to help other nodes catch up arbitrarily far in the future, even if quorum slices have changed significantly in the meantime. Only one RPC is needed to exchange ballot messages. The argument is the sender's latest message and the return value is the receiver's latest message. As with nominate, if D or the values X in ballots are cryptographic hashes, then a separate RPC is needed to retrieve uncached hash pre-images. 6.2.2 Timeouts and ballot updates. If all intact nodes start with the same ballot B, then steps 1 to 9 on the previous page are sufficient to confirm commit B and externalize value B.X. Unfortunately, if the ballot protocol starts before the nomination protocol is converged, nodes may start off with different values for Z. If a ballot fails or takes long enough that it may fail because of unresponsive nodes, then nodes must time out and try again with a higher ballot. For this reason, nodes employ a timer as follows. A node V with phi V does not equal externalize arms a timer whenever there exists S as a subset of MV such that the set of senders U is equal to the set of all elements VM for which M is an element of S is true is a quorum, V is an element of U, and for all M is an element of S, Bm.n is greater than or equal to Bv.n. B. If the timer fires, V updates its ballot by setting the tuple bv.n plus 1 zv and assigns it to bv. Different nodes may start ballots at different times. However, condition A delays setting a timer at node V that has gotten ahead of quorum. Conversely, step 9 on the preceding page allows nodes that have fallen too far behind to catch up without waiting for timers. Taken together, these rules ensure that given long enough timers, intact nodes will spend time together on the same ballot. Moreover, this time will grow proportionally to the timer duration. To ensure timeouts are long enough without predicting latencies, an implementation can increase the timeout as a function of b.n. 6.3 Correctness. An SCP node cannot vote to confirm commit B until it is voted to confirm abort for all lower numbered incompatible ballots. Because a well-behaved node cannot accept, and hence vote to confirm, contradictory statements, this means that for a given tuple VQ, Theorem 5 ensures that a set S of well-behaved nodes cannot externalize contradictory values so long as S enjoys quorum intersection despite V as a set difference of S. This safety holds if V and Q change only between slots, but what if they change mid-slot, for instance in reaction to node crashes? To reason about safety under reconfiguration, we join all old and new quorum slice sets, reflecting the fact that nodes may make decisions based on a combination of messages from different configuration eras. To be very conservative, we might require quorum intersection of the aggregation of the present configuration with every past configuration. However, we can relax this slightly by separating nodes that have sent illegal messages from those that have merely crashed. Theorem 13. Let the tuple v1 q1 all the way to vk qk be the set of configurations an FBAS has experienced during an agreement on a single slot. Let v equal v1 and union all the way to vk, and the function q of v is equal to all elements q for which there exists j, such that both v is an element of vj is true and also q is an element of the function qj of v is true. Let b be a subset of v be a set such that b contains all ill-behaved nodes that have sent illegal messages, though v is a set difference of b may still contain crashed unresponsive nodes. Suppose nodes v1 and v2 are well behaved, v1 externalizes x1 for the slot, and v2 externalizes x2. If the tuple vq to the power of b enjoys quorum intersection, then x1 equals x2. See proof below. For liveness of a node V, we care about several things when an FBAS has undergone a series of reconfigurations in the tuple V1Q1 all the way to VKQK within a single slot. First, the safety prerequisite of Theorem 13 must hold for V and the set of nodes V cares about, since violating safety undermines liveness and Theorem 11 requires quorum intersection. Second, the set of ill-behaved nodes in the latest state in the tuple VKQK must not be V blocking, as this could deny V a quorum and prevent it from ratifying statements. Finally, V's state must never have been poisoned by a V blocking set falsely claiming to accept a statement. To summarize then, if B is the set of nodes that have sent illegal messages, we consider a node V to be cumulatively intact when the following conditions hold. 1. V is intact in the latest configuration tuple VKQK. 2. The aggregation of the present and all past configurations has quorum intersection despite B, that is, the prerequisite for Theorem 13 holds, and 3. B is not V blocking in the tuple VJQJ for any 1 is lesser than or equal to J, which is lesser than or equal to K. The next few theorems show that ill-behaved nodes cannot drive intact nodes into dead-end stuck states. Theorem 14. In an FBAS with quorum intersection, if no intact node is in the externalized phase and an intact node with ballot box of the tuple NX arms its timer as described in section 6.2.2, then given sufficient communication, every intact node V can set BV is greater than or equal to N before any timer fires. See proof below on page 27. Theorem 15. Given long enough timeouts, if an intact node has reached the confirmed phase with Bx is equal to X, then eventually all intact nodes will terminate. See proof below. Otherwise, an intact node in the confirmed phase has accepted commit C where C equals the tuple Nx. Beforehand, an intact node confirmed C was prepared. By Theorem 11, all intact nodes will eventually have H is greater than or equal to C. Moreover, by Theorem 8, no intact node V can accept abort C, so no intact node can accept as prepared any ballot P such that P is greater than and not compatible to C. Hence, after sufficient communication, every intact node will permanently have H is greater than and compatible to C. The intact node, or nodes with the lowest B, will, by Theorem 14, raise their ballots until such point as all intact nodes with armed timers have the same ballot counter. Since they also have identical Z is equal to H.X is equal to X, they will all have the same ballot. If they cannot complete the protocol because one or more intact nodes have higher ballots, the nodes with higher numbered ballots will not have timers set. Hence, the nodes with lower numbered ballots will, after a timeout, set the tuple B.N+1 X and assign it to B until eventually all intact nodes are on the same ballot and can complete the protocol. Theorem 16. Regardless of past ill behavior, given long enough timeouts and periods in which all ill-behaved nodes do not send new messages, intact nodes running SCP will terminate. See proof below. The remaining case is that an intact node has H is not equal to 1, and all intact nodes have phi equal to prepare. By Theorem 14, when the intact node or nodes with the highest B.N arm in their timers, if timers are long enough, other nodes will catch up. Moreover, by Theorem 11, if timers are long enough, nodes will converge on the value of H, the highest confirmed prepared ballot, before the next timeout, at which point all intact nodes will raise B to the same value and complete the protocol. Theorem 16 assures us there are no dead-end states in SCP. However, a set of ill-behaved nodes with very good timing could perpetually preempt an SCP system by delaying messages so that some fraction of intact nodes update H right before timers fire and the remaining updated after, preventing intact nodes from converging on the next ballot. Nodes can recover from such an attack by removing ill-behaved nodes from their slices. An alternative would be to add randomness to the protocol. For instance, changing step 2 on page 24 to update Z with the probability of 1/2, or even with the probability proportional to the fraction of the timer remaining. Such an approach would terminate with probability 1 but in worse expected running time for the common case that most or all nodes are well behaved or fail stop. 7. Limitations. SCP can only guarantee safety when nodes choose adequate quorum slices. Section 3.2 discusses why we can reasonably expect them to do so. Nonetheless, when security depends upon a user configurable parameter, there is always the possibility people will set it wrong. Even when people set quorum slices correctly and SCP guarantees safety, safety alone does not rule out other security issues that may arise in a federated system. For example, in a financial market, widely trusted nodes could leverage their position in the network to gain information with which to engage in front-running or other unethical activities. Byzantine nodes may attempt to filter transactions on the input side of SCP while otherwise producing the corrupt output. If well-behaved nodes accept all transactions, the combined function takes the union of transactions, and there are intact nodes, then such filtering will eventually fail to block victim transactions with probability 1, but may nonetheless impose delays. Though SCP's safety is optimal, its performance and communication latency are not. In the common case that nodes have not previously voted to commit ballots incompatible with the current one, it is possible to reduce the number of communication rounds by 1. An earlier version of SCP did so, but the protocol description was more complex. First, it required nodes to cache and retransmit signed messages previously sent by failed nodes. Second, it was no longer possible to gloss over the distinction between votes and confirmations of abort statements in prepare messages, so nodes had to send around potentially unbounded lists of exceptions to their abort votes. SCP can suffer perpetual preemption as discussed in Section 6.3. An open question is whether, without randomness, a different protocol could guarantee termination, assuming bounded communication latency, but tolerating Byzantine nodes that continuously to inject bad messages at exactly the point where timeouts fire. Such a protocol is not ruled out by the FLP impossibility result. However, the two main techniques to guarantee termination assuming synchrony do not directly apply in the FBA model. PBFT chooses a leader in round-robin fashion, which is not directly applicable when nodes do not agree on membership. Possibly something along the lines of priority in Section 6.1 could be adapted. The Byzantine Generals Protocol relays messages so as to compensate for ill-behaved nodes saying different things to different honest nodes, an approach that cannot help when nodes depend on distinct ill-behaved nodes in their slices. Still, another possibility might be to leverage both randomness and synchrony to terminate with probability 1, but in shorter expected time than Ben or style randomized protocols that make no synchrony assumptions. Public coin techniques that speed up randomized centralized Byzantine agreement protocols appear to be difficult to adapt to the federated model, barring some cryptographic breakthrough in federated threshold signatures. Unfortunately, changing slices mid-slot to accommodate failed nodes is problematic for liveness if a well-behaved node V has ever experienced a wholly malicious and colluding V-blocking set. The good news is that Theorem 13 guarantees safety to any set S of well-behaved nodes enjoying quorum intersection, despite V is a set difference of S, even when S has befouled members. The bad news is that updating Q may be insufficient to unblock nodes if well-behaved nodes were tricked into voting to confirm a bad commit message. In such a situation, nodes must disavow past nodes, which they can do only by rejoining the system under a new node name. There may exist a way to automate such recovery, such as having other nodes recognize reincarnated nodes and automatically update their slices. The FBA model requires continuity of participants over time. Should all nodes simultaneously and permanently leave, restarting consensus would require central coordination or human-level agreement. By contrast, a proof-of-work system such as Bitcoin could undergo sudden complete turnover yet continue to operate with little human intervention. On the other hand, if nodes do return, an FBAS can recover from an arbitrarily long outage, while a proof-of-work scheme would face the possibility of an attacker working on a fork during the outage. An intriguing possibility is to leverage SCP to mediate tussles by voting on changes to configuration parameters or upgrades to an application protocol. One way to do this is to nominate special messages that update parameters. Candidate values could then consist of both a set of values and a set of parameter updates. A big limitation of this approach is that a set of malicious nodes large enough to deny the system a quorum but not large enough to undermine safety could nonetheless trigger configuration changes by lying and putting configuration changes in Y that were never ratified. It remains an open question how to vote on parameter changes in a way that requires the consent of a full quorum but also never jeopardizes liveness. 8. Summary. Byzantine agreement has long enabled distributed systems to achieve consensus with efficiency, standard cryptographic security, and flexibility in designating trusted participants. More recently, Bitcoin introduced the revolutionary notion of decentralized consensus, leading to many new systems and research challenges. This paper introduces Federated Byzantine Agreement, FBA, a model for achieving decentralized consensus while preserving the traditional benefits of Byzantine agreement. The key distinction between FBA and prior Byzantine agreement systems is that FBA forms quorums from participants' individual trust decisions, allowing an organic growth model similar to that of the Internet. The Stellar Consensus Protocol, SCP, is a construction for FBA that achieves optimal safety against ill-behaved participants. Disclaimer. Professor Mazietta's contribution to this publication was as a paid consultant and was not part of his Stanford University duties or responsibilities. Page 30 and 31 shows references, and page 32 shows a glossary of notation. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that reading of Stellar Lumens' white paper. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, leave us a comment, or you can also donate to the crypto addresses that we have in the description, or use the QR codes that are right next to me. And with that, I want to thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.